Answer. Well, how's your wife? Answer the question, Minister.
Counter-Clockwise with Selwyn Manning from livenews.co.nz.
Just wait for the drum roll. Welcome back to BFM. This is The Wire. Right now I've got Selwyn Manning from livenews.co.nz and 36parallel.com on the line. Selwyn, let's start quickly with your thoughts on the filmmaker Barbara Sumner's Burston, who copped a lot of flack for her remarks about the dead New Zealand soldiers. You there, Selwyn? Hello? I'm sorry, I think we've lost Selwyn. We have to come back to that. Just a moment. Oh, you there, Selwyn?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry about that. All right, so Barbara Sumner's Burston, she's copped a lot of flack.
Yeah, she has. Now, Sumner Burston, she commented on Facebook earlier last week regarding whether or not we should have sympathy for New Zealand soldiers killed in Afghanistan. Now, clearly, many found that comment to be inappropriate, and later on, Sumner Burston, she did apologise unreservedly for those comments and suggested that they were ill-advised to have put it on Facebook. But what was deeply disturbing, in my view, was the threatening response from New Zealand's underbelly, and also equally disturbing was New Zealand police's apparent inaction when they received a complaint that cyberbullying was intensifying and death threats were being made against Sumner Burston and her family. Now, surely New Zealand police should take such threats seriously. So that issue, no doubt, will not go away relating to the New Zealand police's response. That was one of the big issues. Obviously, there are other big issues that are taking place this week too, Simon, the Pacific Island Forum. Okay,
so let's look at that. Now, the Pacific Island Forum, you say that basically the big work and the real decisions about this forum actually happen after it ends.
Yeah, as soon as, because at the moment, like last night, there was an official opening in Rarotonga. All the leaders of the Pacific, including the Prime Minister of Australia, John Key, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, all gather there for their annual talk fest, if you like. Now, this Leaders' Summit, it will consider big issues like how does the Pacific Island Forum engage with Fiji as Fiji is making moves back to democracy. Now, that is obviously behind closed doors at their summit meeting will be a high point of the discussions. There are other things, of course, but the real business as far as the dollars in the region occurs as soon as the leaders have moved off their spot, gone back to New Zealand. At the end of this week, for example, like the end of tomorrow, a communique will come out. The leaders will say what they want to say publicly about all the big issues in the Pacific. Then they'll all sod off back home. What's left is what is called the post-forum dialogue period, and that's where the big global powers like the United States, China, the European Union, Japan and others all sit around the table with the Pacific Island foreign ministers and others and say, look, this is the money we want to put into the region. This is why we're wanting to do it. This is where we want it to be targeted. And most significantly, this is what we want in return. Now, we know that on Sunday, the United States is having Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of State, going to Rarotonga, where she will take part in those discussions. And she will have an entourage, Simon, that is the biggest entourage from the United States that has ever attended a Pacific Island Forum before. And we see this and interpret this as the United States doing a big fanfare, a big display of it is taking this region, the Pacific, as a very important asset that it wants to occupy and dominate. The Chinese, there's a challenge there from the United States to the Chinese because, like you know, the listeners know, and I know, the Chinese have been making big inroads into the Pacific, particularly in the last 6 years.
So it'll be interesting to actually see whether or not the rhetoric or the realpolitik matches up with the rhetoric post the dialogue stage.
Yeah.
Now, moving on now, of course, last night we had the passing, or the first passing of the first reading, I should say, of the the marriage amendment bill.
Yes.
It was 80-44. Thoughts?
Yep. Yeah, no, it was an amazing thing. I kind of watched it live on the internet, parliamentary TV, and someone's thinking, oh, why would he do that? But it was actually one of the few times where I thought, yep, this is really good stuff. Twitter was just going mad with it. this non-stop stuff. But what was really important to watch there was the new generation, really, of MPs in our parliament reflecting the sentiment and the values that is out there in the public. You know, we could see National Party MPs, Labour MPs, Green MPs, Mana, of course, Peter Dunn, even ACT, coming on side with this new bill, you know, the same-sex marriage bill. It was an important speech opportunity for many. Significant among those, I thought, was Nationals' Nikki Kay, representing Auckland Central, of course. Her speech was a blinder. It was a fantastic speech. And I say it was a political speech, a coming-of-age political speech, and I don't necessarily mean that in a patronising way to Nikki. She's obviously a politician and a successful one in her own right, but I mean it really seemed to sum up the sentiment of New Zealand public toward this type of legislation. Kevin Haig from the Green Party, that was an amazing one too, you know, is really to be applauded. And Jamie Lee Ross's one was an important one too. But from the old diehards, there was interesting ones from the social conservatives, people like Dr. Paul Hutchison in the National Party, who everybody believed was going to vote against the bill because of his religious and conservative kind of bent. But he kind of did a speech where he said there was nothing in the bill that spiritually, morally or legally he could object to, and so therefore he supported it. It was an interesting night and a very good one.
Fantastic. Now, Selwyn, that's all the time we've got for you today, unfortunately, but stay tuned because we are following on with a couple of interviews with a couple of the players here. So
absolutely, and I understand you've got Louisa Wall, and a fantastic opportunity for a reasonably new MP to get such a changing piece of legislation to select committee, and obviously it's going to become law in the future.
Great. Well, stay tuned then, Selwyn.
Okay, mate. See you soon.